Hi, Captive Animal Bio, and welcome to the design portion of our zoo. In this section, we picked a location and came up with a general theme for the zoo's layout, described two sections of the zoo in greater detail, and highlighted two other features of the zoo. Let's get started.
Okay, so we came up with a working name for our zoo. This obviously isn't going to be like the final name, but we came up with Palmetto Zoological Gardens, and we all like that name. So as you guys know, we're taking over Doc Antle's Myrtle Beach Safari and turning it into an AZA accredited zoo that's more focused on education and research-based conservation. There's several small zoos in the Horry County area, but most of them are privately owned and not AZA accredited. The only other AZA accredited zoos in the coastal South Carolina area is Ripley's Aquarium and Low Country Zoo at Brook Green Gardens, and they only focus on local species. Horry County has a lot of tourist attraction all year long, so this would increase the amount of people that would potentially visit our zoo. As we mentioned in lecture, Horry County is a poor county other than the Myrtle Beach area, so our zoo could provide jobs for the community. Much like the North Carolina Zoo, our zoo would be divided into different continents with other areas dedicated to certain groups such as amphibians, reptiles, and aquatic animals to create a better experience for our guests and make it easier to care for these animals' needs. We're also going to include a rehab program for sea turtles that are rescued in the area, and we'll work with as much of the natural foliage found in South Carolina in our exhibits as we can.
So here we see an image of the general layout of the zoo. So the main divisions are going to be the African Vista, American Wilderness, Eurasian Jungle, Australian Outback, and Underwater Discovery. And then the special features will be the Reptile Refuge, Sea Turtle Sanctuary, and Amphibian Adventure. So once you enter the zoo, you'll see the animals from Australia at the Australian Outback, including the quokka, known for their happy-looking faces, and the adorable koala. From there, guests can see reptiles and amphibians in the Reptile Refuge and Amphibian Adventure houses, then continue along the path into the Eurasian Jungle. This houses threatened big cat species, including the Sumatran tiger, Siberian tiger, and Iberian lynx. Further along the path is the charismatic red panda, before you enter the Underwater Discovery and Sea Turtle Sanctuary. Behind those facilities is a veterinary care facility. The veterinary care facility is close to the Sea Turtle Sanctuary to give easy access to injured sea turtles. From there, visitors can enter African Vista to see the iconic animals such as African elephant, common hippopotamus, and cheetah. There are multiple primates and several birds as well. In the American Wilderness, visitors can see more birds, including the national bald eagle. Here is the giant otter and sloth that visitors can admire on their way out of the zoo through the gift shop. Also note that the food is located in the center of the zoo, so people may eat whenever without having a long distance to walk.
We are separating our zoo up by continents, and one of those continents is Africa. We included 2 lemurs from Madagascar as well because they will fit in with our primates. The main features in this area will be stairs leading to a see-through wall to see the hippo swimming, jungle gyms inside of the primates and lemurs enclosures, and the elephant enclosure being in the middle. There will be a large outer loop around the back of the enclosures that will include access to all of the holdings. This will be restricted from the public. This is an overall drawing of our Africa section. You can see some of the features in the cages, where the holdings and gates are, rough size comparisons of the cages, and where the paths are located. The blue is water pools, and the gray in the cheetah's enclosure is lounging rocks.
One of the special features in our zoo will be the Reptile Refuge. Each reptile needs to have a specific environment in their enclosure. The Gila monster is predominantly underground, so we will build an underground viewing area made of plexiglass. It'll be similar to an ant farm. The Galapagos giant turtle will have live cacti and grasses as well as a pool. Both the pig-nosed turtle and the diamondback terrapin will have an aquatic tank with aquatic plants and basking rocks. The pig-nosed turtle will have a river ecosystem, and the diamondback terrapin will have a saltwater marsh system. The eastern Masaga rattlesnake will have a marshy habitat with several hiding places and a water system. The western hognose snake and king cobra will have multiple places to hide as well. Both the green anaconda and reticulated python will have large tanks with pools. The Brazilian rainbow boa will will have a large tank as well. The spiky-tailed iguana will have a mangrove-like environment. Both the tokay gecko and satanic gecko will have a lot of vegetation to hide, and we will have an I Spy game for the tourists that visit. All temperatures, humidities, and pools will be monitored by zoo employees.
Okay, so this is a general layout of our reptile house. It'll be organized based off of habitat, location, and then further organized by species. We'll have the guests enter into the desert area, which is kept separate from the tropical area by walls and doors for humidity and temperature control. As you enter, you come across the Gila monster and the indoor Galapagos giant turtle exhibits. The guests then have the option to go outside to our turtle viewing platform during the warmer months. Before entering the tropical side, there is a section for venomous snakes. It is tucked away in case if the visitor is not fond of these types of snakes, so this is a good option for free choice learning. In this section, you will see the hognose snake, eastern Masaga rattlesnake, and king cobra. Then, as you enter the tropical area, there will be a double door partition. Once through, you will find our aquatic turtles, the diamondback terrapin and pig-nosed turtle on the right, and on the other side, the non-venomous snakes, Brazilian rainbow boa, reticulated python, and green anaconda. Next will be the tokay and satanic leaf-tailed gecko enclosures. Their tanks will be tall rather than horizontal since they are an arboreal species. These enclosures will have an I Spy game for children or guests who get frustrated easily. Lastly, the Utila spiny-tailed iguana is on the exhibit or right before leaving the building. All red areas on this map are the employee-only areas and is where you can find all sump rooms and water systems, as well as materials to spot clean the habitats. The white space represents where the public can walk. The walls in between the exhibits will have decorations appropriate for whether desert or tropics, depending on the section of the house. And there will also be a lot of information boards regarding the species.
In addition to the reptile refuge, we also have a healthy number of amphibians and a few insects that we need to house. The amphibian adventure, while only containing 14 species, will require lots of space for humidifiers, temperature controls, water pumps and monitors, and lights with timers. Behind the scenes will be a food prep area, enclosures for vet checks, and off-site housing for when animals need to be off exhibit or in quarantine before going on habitat. Many of these species will be handleable by staff thanks to their size and temperament, so an area for live encounters will be located in the center of the facility. Each enclosure will be accompanied by appropriate signage listing the animal's conservation status, why we keep them in the zoo, and some general background information. Highlighted in this simplified drawing is the amount of space dedicated to staff, in red, for keeping our animals healthy. Within the enclosure access sections is all the necessary equipment to maintain stable environments for our sensitive species and areas for food prep, vet checks, and intake-outtake quarantine. Upon entering, the 3 insect species will be immediately to your left in green. Additionally, an observation hive for our honeybees will be viewable from the inside of the building, with a large garden containing native species to South Carolina connected to the hive. The garden can be seen by guests, but not entered, to prevent stings and accidental bee deaths. The 5 species of frogs will be grouped together to your right. There is a large central area for live encounters where keepers can bring out animals and give educational talks on our species. The more water-based species are grouped at the end.
One of the special features of our zoo has is a sea turtle sanctuary. At this part of the zoo, we house our Kemp's Ridley sea turtles as well as our loggerheads. Also, we will be operating a rescue and release program here for the turtles since we are close to the coast and South Carolina is known to have lots of sea turtles on their beaches. Here will provide us with a great way to get the public engaged in learning all about sea turtle conservation and the steps they can take themselves to help save the turtles. Part of this rescue release program includes egg hatching programs, where we will have teams that monitor the beaches for nests and are able to block them off and hopefully help ensure that they hatch and make them into the wild. There's a possibility to have a Head Start program in the future. This is another way to engage the public, even though they're not even at the zoo, but rather that just at the beach to have them learn about conservation and have them be able to have real life experiences to create that connection. The facility will be divided into 2 parts, the sick bay or the ICU side, and then the recovery and release side. In the sick bay side, there will be a viewing glass and several tanks behind it for the public to be able to look in and see the turtles we are currently working on to help them get back into the wild. On the recovery and release side, we will do just that. Turtles will be seeing the recovery until the vet improves them to be ready to release back into the ocean. The public is able to walk between the tanks and get a closer look at our turtles as they go through the building back into the zoo. The number of turtles housed here will be varied as new and sick turtles may be released or may come in daily. Each tank is equipped with pH, temperature, and water quality monitors and filters to ensure that tanks have the necessary environment for these turtles. This facility will be located on the edge of our zoo, making it easy for trucks to come in and out and to release these turtles. And here's the picture. You can see the left side is our sick bay. The blue is the viewing glass, as you can see. In the back, we have workspace and operation space, as well as a laundry center and storage for all the laundry we'll do. And then on the right side is the recovery side, where you can see through the fencing over the tanks and into the recovery side. And these turtles stay there until they're released. We also have hoses and a sump loop to be able to have the best water quality for these turtles.
Okay, so our commissary for doing most of the food prep will be located on the edge of the zoo perimeter so that trucks containing food can back right up to the garage to unload, then immediately store the food. The garage will be sanitized after each food truck delivery. Food products that arrive regularly may include bales of hay, grains, meats, live insects, rodents, fish, pellets, birdseed, fruits, and vegetables. The facility will include freezers, refrigerator for meat and fruits and vegetables. So there will be 2 different refrigerators so that there is no cross-contamination between the meats and the fruits and the vegetables. There will be a room for live prey, including insects and fish. Insects that might be housed in aquariums there are crickets that are used to feed some reptiles, and fish, maybe minnows, that will be in their own aquarium there. Minnows are used as a form of enrichment for lesser sirens, as an example of how those will be used. The kitchen will have designated areas for different types of food to ensure no cross-contamination. There will also be an outdoor barn with efficient air ventilation to store additional dry goods such as hay, pellets, and birdseed. And then the food, including daily diets and treats for training or enrichment, will be prepared, weighed, then delivered by golf cart to animal holdings. From there, the keepers can distribute the food to the animals.